And welcome everybody to the final episode of the Ms.Marvel Spoilercast. As always, I am Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter at 692tweets. And of course, I'm joined by Sean.
Hey, you can join me at Marvin the Martian _12.
And joining us today, we have Nick Johnson from multiple fan bases.
Hey, what's up, guys? You can find me on Twitter at NFJ Films, and you can also find my the show, multiple fan bases on YouTube and Spotify.
And say, I heard that. We hope that YouTube does not slap this video down. The bill will be in the mail very soon. And of course, it would not be a final episode of the Spoilercast for an MCU show without Jared from the Nerd Academy.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Super excited to talk about Ms. Marvel. This show made me happy. I have some strong opinions and all of them are positive. I'm excited for this.
Good, because I had no idea what you thought about this show. I had no inkling whatsoever.
No,
maybe you were behind, so I couldn't.
A lot of that was because I was super behind for most of the show. The triple threat, quadruple threat. It's just one of the shows doesn't affect me. Of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ms. Marvel, The Boys, and Stranger Things, all at once, was a lot.
It has been a lot recently.
Yeah, and being a Star Wars guy, content summer, being a Star Wars guy, Obi-Wan Kenobi, it was that above all else. So I had to put all of my energies into that show, and then I knew what I was getting from The Boys, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit. I'm gonna focus on The Boys and go back to Ms. Marvel, and now I'm done with all of it. Now I got to do my own reviews of those shows.
If you need any help.
Oh, I still got to do that.
Yeah, I'm doing. None of y'all can see me. I'm doing the very vaudeville, tug on your shoulder type thing. But
yeah, we did.
I heard you're.
We didn't get to.
Was okay.
But
we didn't get to do Moon Knight or Doctor Strange till a month after they were both out. We just kind of like one big review of everything that we missed.
The algorithm push.
Yeah.
That's your first big mistake right there.
All I think about.
It helped when we did the watch party for The Boys, though. That helped.
Yeah.
All I think about all the time
like
is
that
how
idea.
much I wish I could do this full time. Because I'm I get so much done. I get so much done in a day. In a day. One day. Give me one day to just cover everything with ample access to other people. Everything gets done in one day. But alas, them's not the yams. I'm not as blessed as you gentlemen yet.
Keep the grind going.
Oh, always.
I say you got to keep the grind going. I piggybacked. I absolutely jumped on the bandwagon when it was already rolling. So I have no.
You're an integral part of the machine, though. You don't sell yourself short.
I will, but slight coattail riding from me. I'm self-aware. Anyway, I don't know where to start with this show, to be honest, because it's no secret to everyone. I've had some very strong feelings one way and the other. It's slight emotional whiplash for me. If you listen to the cast on Wednesday, and Nick and Jared were obviously here, I have very much calmed down since then. There's still a little bit, still some sly seed going on, but it's not to the point where I can, I'm thinking straight. Hopefully, kind of. If I'm not, it's the heat. Blame on that. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to tackle this whole thing.
I don't think it would be a bad idea. I don't want to steal hosting reins from you. I don't think it would be a bad idea to start at Power Gate, which I think was the biggest thing going into this show. And I think I mentioned this on y'all's show last week. It's grown on me. I think that I understand. My biggest gripe with it at this point is not an inaccuracy to the comics, because it does functionally work the same way.
Yeah.
It is the metaphor of puberty doesn't feel pretty. That that was my biggest I don't want to lose this metaphor. However, they traded it for a different and I would say equally important one. And that was my big thing going into this, where I was like, if you can make this work and like not feel like you've lost the weight of what the beginning was meant to be in the first place, you have me sold.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they did that. And I'm very, very happy with how the power set turned out. I want to see more of how it works. I've been excited for the Marvels in general, but I'm really excited. And this is no shade to Ms. Marvel or Disney Plus or anything, but a TV budget and a movie budget aren't the same thing.
No.
And I'm very excited to see Kamala's powers as they are in the MCU depicted with a little bit more ass to throw behind the CGI.
Yeah. But,
not that it's bad by any means. I want to see more of the powers get used, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you. But since we're going to talk about it, I'm going to first apologize to Sean for one thing. Not the whole change as a thing.
You don't need to apologize to anything.
No, there's one thing I need to do. No,
it's just like everybody else has an opinion.
Sean, let me finish. Right. It's not the whole mutant thing. I'm talking about the bangle as a whole. Because I spent the whole episode going off about how this thing makes no sense. It does whatever the hell it wants. I'm not believing that it's the quantum band or negaband theory in the slightest, because I just didn't think that made any sense. But from the post-credit scene of this, I'm just going to jump straight to there. That's absolutely what it is. Because what they did was an old Rick Jones, Captain Marvel bit where they clanged the bangles together and they swapped places. And that's exactly what happened here. It's like, you know what? If it is going to be one of those, it makes a lot more sense in the show. It actually, as what I should have done from the start, just let them tell their story. And it's clear. If it's not, fair enough, but it makes a lot more sense going forward for me to be something like that. And it's still, that's why you have the Kree connection. That's why it does this, and that's why it does that, because it's just this overpowered little bangle thing. And yeah, it's an interesting addition to that moveset that she has.
Well, I was gonna say, not being super familiar again, like I've said before that, with Endgame, a lot of my Marvel expertise I was kind of burnt on. That like I was like that was kind of my like very Earthbound, the Avengers centered kind of person, with like specific characters that I know a lot about. But like more like the space stuff is where I'm, the space and the sorcery stuff is where I'm like kind of spotty, but like love learning about it. And I very passingly aware of like the nega bands and all of that stuff. And I was like, is that what they're going with this? And then there's the post-credit scene. And I was like, okay, I think I understand what's happening. And yeah, I dig it. And I also, with, the mutant thing, I like it. I'm going to steal a theory from my girlfriend and say that I think that it's just because they don't have the word inhuman yet.
I mean, there is that scene from one of the early issues where she first meets Medusa, and she's like, Wolverine thought you were a mutant, but then he thought you might have been something more, and that your powers are activated by a Terrigen Mist, yada yada yada. Obviously, the reader knew she wasn't a human because the first issue she goes through Terrigenesis and all that. So, but it could maybe do that here. The thing that and I was sitting on the fence of they could say mutant or mutate in this show. It's not solidified until the rumors of the Galactic Inhumans in the Marvels comes out, and if that happens or not, But what sealed it and cemented it that she is a mutant, outside of them going, oh yeah, she's the first mutant, blah 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 blah, is that little chime of the X-Men thing.
Yeah, honestly, again, that got spoiled for me that it was there. Maybe it's just because my air conditioning and fan were too damn loud. I did not hear it. I was listening for it. I know it's there. I'm not dumb enough to say that everybody's wrong and that like millions of people imagine the X-Men theme. But
I mean, if you did, I can just say it's in the credits. So
yeah, exactly. I didn't hear. I was disappointed I couldn't hear it. I'm gonna go back and rewatch the finale.
It's very faint, and it ties into the score they're using very well.
Yeah, I like it. I also like the fact that by making her like organically powered in some way. I feel a sneeze coming. I'm gonna try to talk through it. You can... Never mind. The second I said it is when it came out. I also like the idea that if she's organically powered, that means that you could eventually, in theory, maybe lose the bangle and like the purple stuff, and maybe just have her be like stretchy and big. Again, It's not the end of the world for me that if she isn't at this point, because I was sufficiently sold on the power change. But just because I'm the kind of person who's like, I want everything to be as accurate as possible, just because it's more fun that way for me. I would like to see her just without any like purple sheen, but either way, I'm good. I very much liked it.
It's like, I do think the purple stuff, you do lose that whole. No, it's everything's all pretty powers and all this and all that, and then she has the ugly ones, and it was literally part of the character in her first arc. And
exactly, yeah.
So I do think you've lost that. I think even with the mutant change, you've lost a little bit because. This is just purely me. You know, the Inhumans have a culture, and it was just adding another like a cultural layer to Kamala. Whereas now, what culture do mutants really have?
I hear that. The thing that I like about the power change, and again, like you and I have alluded to the same thing multiple times here, with and eventually I'll shut up so that the other people on this panel can speak as well. But I really like the idea that it went from I have the ugly powers, and it being again like this analog for like puberty and stuff like that, to the very keep your head down, mind your own business culture of her family and her religious community. Keep your head down, do your own thing. Keep your head down, do your own thing, and how her powers are so impossible to like high.
Yeah, and
I like that. I
like that aspect of the power change. They did do. They took one thing and replaced it with another.
Exactly.
Right? And it's like it's. I totally get why. Why should the little Muslim girl hide and everything? Why does she have to have the other thing? Why can't she be having nice looking powers, etc., etc.? But it's just. I think it's probably one of the rare cases I'm absolutely a purist on it, and I think it's purely what I just can't get. I'm trying to get away from all that, but it's just,
no, I understand that completely. I understand that completely. No, I think that's valid.
Nick, where do you stand on it? Since you've been very quiet.
Well, I will admit I was I was one of those people who were a bit disappointed by the whole power change, and it did grew on me, like what Jared said. I just got used to it on the whole Bengals stuff. I kind of losing my train of thought here. But the Bengals stuff, like I was just wondering, like, what the hell is this bangle for? Like what's the whole point of it? I might know where it's going. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what to say right now. Could you get back to me? I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But keeping on the bangle, I think as a whole, I really enjoyed this show, and I want to emphasize that same. I like this show. I think the stuff they did with Kamala and the family is fantastic. It's some of the strongest character work they've ever done. I just wish that the balance of the powers / the bangle, the villains, and that was handled slightly better in this show. And I've said before, the clandestines, I think you could write the clandestines out of the show entirely and do something slightly different while keeping the main key plot going as it is. So maybe you could have focused a bit more on what the mystery of this bangle is, but that's just me personally. I think it also doesn't help that you have, when this show got announced, they were like, hey, she's going to have this show, and then jump straight into the Marvels. I just smacked them out like an idiot. So obviously the story's not yet finished, and this does end on a cliffhanger. So you don't necessarily have to fully explain everything straight off the bat. You just have to wait a year to get to it. but I just wish there was a little bit more meat on that bone that the Marvels didn't have to fully set up or like explain. Unless it's completely integral to the plot of that movie, then yeah, fair enough. Save them everything for the bangle of the movie. But as it stands right now in the show, it's just like just a little bit more in that bangle.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
So you had this really interesting setup, or I say setup, this little tease with this flashback with Najimura and Aisha. And it's like, hey, Kree is clearly Kree related, and then there's 10 rings, like, there's a thing here. And then nothing. She just then time travels. It's like, okay.
Also, I just want to shout out real quick the best version of the penultimate episode, Memory Gauntlet. This one was great. I loved it. They still did it, but this was like they hit it from you a little bit.
I'm not obviously the origin of Memory Gauntlet, but I didn't find this to be a Memory Gauntlet. I don't know if you could class it.
I think it was like a mixture of both, kind of.
It was an extended flashback. I just, again, I'm not criticizing it for it. I just think it's really funny that like almost every penultimate episode of the Marvel shows end with like an extended flashback that is very meta and like the character quite literally living through that experience. Again, it's not a criticism. I like it, and it's always a moment where our actors get to act their ass off. And I love it every time. I just think it's funny that it keeps happening.
Say there's never been a bad Memory Gauntlet. They're always good.
Yeah, there hasn't been a bad one. It's just a funny format.
FYI, Jared, I kind of stole your term in a meeting, so maybe it's used in meetings now.
You're kidding.
No. Honestly, I've been holding that in because I wanted Sean to tell you for about a month.
I take credit for that fully, by the way. I'll send you the royalty checks.
It made my whole day, Sean.
So just let you know, your legacy lives on in these meetings.
So in a week when Feige's on like the SDCC Hall H stage and he says we're going to have a Memory Gauntlet series, you know exactly where that came from.
I will die. My heart will stop. I will die a Jedi death, and my like colorful button down will just flow to the ground. I will be one with the Force. That is so funny, Sean. I cannot wait to tell my friends about that.
Oh, you got video, you got audio proof that it happens. So.
I know. I'm earmarking this episode forever. If that term ever gets thrown around in a professional like live setting, like not obviously not in the way that Mitch just joked, but if I ever hear that from a Marvel exec, I'm like, hey, it's like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme. Only I can't whistle that well.
It's time to learn.
I know. But yeah, no, I like the bangle. I think it's an interesting plot device. I think it's very much something that I will get explored more in the Marvels. I wasn't holding my breath for like a big explanation. I like what we got here. And again, I loved all the flashback stuff. Like I was really fascinated by it. And like I really thought this was going to be one of those moments where like I'm more invested in just like the inner workings of this character than I am watching them like fight the big bad. But eventually, like, you know, and the main clandestine.
No,
what was that?
Listen, the big bad racism, you know.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I like the fact that by the end, like, we're fighting more of an idea than a person. It made me happy. I like when we take that kind of detour. Just like with WandaVision. WandaVision does not have a villain. Agatha Harkness is an antagonist of Wanda, but like she's not the villain. She's an antagonizing force. The villain is trauma and working through all of it.
Well, I think the idea of the issues are more of a is more important than setting up a good villain, because the good villain
100%, yeah.
You know, like it's a dime a dozen in any movie. I think it takes more, gives more to the story if there's like a social issue attached to the show that and I feel like it does that pretty good, with the systemic racism that goes on.
Absolutely.
Not with just like Arab Americans, but with, you could copy and paste any race with that issue, and it makes sense, and people can attach themselves to it and get it. I think that's the heart of the show, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%.
And then
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to sing your praises and everybody you work with. That I think it was fantastically well handled. The fact that it's not just some ranting, raving lunatic screaming slurs at the top of their lungs. Not every villain is Peacemaker's dad. Not every villain, not every racist tool is White Dragon.
Yeah.
It's sometimes there is there are those subtle, but you can tell, and what kind of hate is in their heart. And I really love the nuance here, that it wasn't somebody just going in screaming horrible things. It was those very subtle disrespect,
as someone not taking their shoes off. I really like
exactly
that.
Yeah, the microaggressions.
To Peacemaker's credit, I think that it does happen.
Yeah. Absolutely, he does.
I think it's a low hanging fruit to have that person in a show or in a story or whatever, but it's not wrong. I think that would have made it a much more interesting show if that was the case versus whatever Peacemaker was a timely about.
Yeah.
But
I also feel like this show, just to interrupt you there, sorry, this show, if it had just focused on the racism aspect more and the whole damage control, would have been.
I agree with you. I think the claim to side was the deviants. The problem. That was the problem with the deviants. You could never escape there's no perfect version of a story. You have to. There's gonna be there's nothing perfect, and I think that what they do in the show, right, they do it 100% right. Versus, you can't get everything correct, you can't get everything right. There was, look, not to say that there wasn't talks in the show about having mutants or Inhumans. It was just a decision they made. And I think that got really. I looked at the fan base a lot after the decision, and I started seeing a lot of what Star Wars was going through for a long time. There was a lot of people just I don't like this show anymore because of X, Y, and Z. I don't know. That's what I seen. I seen that in the discourse, and I was just I kind of checked out, because it's the Marvel fandom is starting to get that that stink a little bit.
Yeah, there's absolutely been an infiltration. Yeah,
it's starting to get. Yeah, you can't escape it, but it's kind of disheartening to watch something that was creatively done by the showrunners, and it wasn't right or wrong, but to have people say it's wrong, it's wrong, it's a little disheartening to see. And then you see the people hating it just for that one little decision, the powers, the decision to make it mutants. It's what is right? If you gave them the cake, they want more. I think untimely, the writers and the creators of the show made a decision. Look, it is what it is. If you can't accept it, you can't please everybody every time. So that's how I look at it right now. Been going through this. I've seen this stuff for a very, 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 very long time. As long as I've been in this business, I see that, and it's the fans sometimes just cannot be pleased.
No,
and it's kind of.
No.
But the problem I have with it is people dogging on the show to the point where it's either you're saying it's wrong, and I whatever I say is right. Why are they doing it? I hate these creators. They did it. They messed up everything. It's stuff like that really fucking digs at me a little bit, because it's a lot of people will put their blood, sweat, and tears into this show and any other show to have it being torn down. And like creative criticism is fine, but once you start making jokes about it and memes and stuff like that, that's where I get a little defensive about it. Only because I am a part of this, and criticism is always accepted. But like when you start adding like jokes to it and like, oh, they did it wrong, I could do it right. Whatever I was thinking was the correct way to do it. Why did they do this? It's like, and then you make a really hard decision on how you feel about the show just because of that. I was like, you just got to go, okay, I guess you didn't get him this time. I don't know, man. Like that's just my feelings on it.
No, I think that's completely valid, and that's where I try to like. I as somebody who is a fledgling.
I think people missed the point of the show, though.
I think they absolutely did.
I think people were so blind to the fact that they changed things about the character to the point where they almost missed the point of the show. And like it really is frustrating to see that. And it's not hard if you watch the show to get the show. I get people don't like the decision. I get it. Like, look, it happens though. You can't like why would you want a 1-for-1 translation of something? That's boring. People would be criticizing that. If they would have made her an Inhuman, people would have been happy. Then you had like a whole bunch of other people. Oh, why did they do that? That's so low hanging fruit. I didn't see that coming or whatever. It's like, at what point are people satisfied? Like you can't. Like they made a decision because they have agendas they have to consider when putting together shows like this. They give you fan service all the time. But they also have an agenda to keep this train going. And like the small changes like this, I don't care that she's a mutant. It swaps out one little detail for another detail just to get something else introduced. You're not going to see any shows. I'm going to spoil it for everybody in the crowd here. Whatever you see in these shows are not going to be. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 translation from the comics. It's just not. And if you're dead set on that happening, then you probably shouldn't be watching these shows because you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you're going to see, it's not going to be the same thing in the comics. It's not what you think it's always going to be. It's just not. They have it. The next time you see the Fantastic Four, it's not exactly what you think it's going to be. It's going to be what they have and what they need to do to keep the momentum going on these things. I don't know.
Well, I think there's a use to also pointing out that like we have, as a fandom, again living through the comic book movie renaissance, have kind of like taken an expectation of like 100% accuracy, even though nothing has ever been 100% accurate. No, that like things have been incredibly faithful, and I think that we have taken that to mean that like any deviation is sacrilege. Go back to some of our like the foundational text of comic book movies and stuff. Batman 89 decided to give the Joker a name and say that he killed Bruce's parents. Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies gave him organic webs and all kinds of other weird stuff going on in that situation too. Like, adaptation is not inherently bad. Sometimes there are changes that don't work, and that's completely different than like offhandedly going, "Oh, I don't like this change." I agree with you very, very much, Sean.
Also, like the decisions they make in the movies and show are fluent. So it's just like the comic books, how fluent decisions are made. Things are changed almost from story to story. Year to year, there's always a change to the character, and it goes the same way with the movies. This time, once they decide to introduce some other characters like the Inhumans, who knows? Maybe they retcon the fact that she is an Inhuman. But right now, they have to people are. You don't realize how much emails you get from the fans saying they want mutants. So how do you figure out how to do it without looking stupid, without really missing the mark? And I know I don't know. Maybe I'm just not I don't know what the word is, but like I'm not attached to the idea that she's an Inhuman. You know, being a mutant.
Just to interrupt you, sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Because as someone who is, right, I we've talked about this a lot. We've gone over it a lot, and I don't want to get it all heated again. I will say, very flippantly and jokingly, so don't take this to heart, I didn't appreciate the honey dicking of the Inhumans. Personally.
That's a show, though. I mean, that's what
I know it's a show. I know.
You're not gonna.
But I find that in hindsight, I find it funny that they led me to believe one thing and then pulled the rug out underneath me. I'm just like, cheers. But on the other hand, you say missing about the whole point of the show. I'm gonna say that I did, because there's one thing, and you reminded me when you said about stuff's gonna change. How they're gonna introduce mutants. I think this show has told us how they're gonna introduce mutants. And it's something I could be way off the mark here. It's a very blink and you miss it thing, and that's the hologram Waleed shows Kamala. Because the whole Noor dimension quotes, it's all plant-based. And if you look at what Hickman's done with Krakoa and Akara and all that, they're literally on a giant island covered with plants and like prehistoric massive beasts and all that. I could be way off the mark there. If that's how they're going to do it, fine.
Well, I love that shot from the hip, Mitch.
We've talked about that. I mean, look, they're not inherently shy about cherry picking from new stories, and we've talked about this in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if that's correct. But
because that's going back to it and like watching specific moments from the show. It's like I absolutely missed that. I didn't think of that at the time. I also, in fairness, I'm going to hold the L here again. I should have noticed it was going to be mutants the second it was the clandestines. Who were they most related to in the comics? The mutants. It's right there in front of me. I just but I had my not everything's the same as the comics hat on, and I just went a different way with it. But then they got all crystallized and died by a mist, and anyway.
Well, look, yes. I mean, the clandestine was kind of important. They weren't really important to the story.
No.
I think that there's always, like I said, there's always hiccups and stuff. You're never gonna get a perfect show. It's just, I mean, I love WandaVision, but it's not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. You try saying that to the Nolan people, and you'll probably get pitchforked. But
Tarantino as well.
Those movies aren't perfect either. They're pretty Swiss cheesy, if you get down to it. I think they were more of a stepping stone to what the story was actually about. And it's unfortunate, yes, but they were inconsequential characters to the story anyway. Sorry to the two, 3 fans of the clandestine. They were not important.
I shouldn't laugh because everyone's going like, no one likes Inhumans. I'm just like, I'm one of the 2 people that do. I don't make that argument.
This to hear people say that Feige hates the Inhumans is like one, I don't know where they heard that from.
They don't need to be honest. It's it's the whole actions speak louder than words, and
no, I think they need. Look, that show put a lot of stink on those characters.
Oh, it did absolutely. I know. I absolutely get why they've done it. It's a different culture. The only argument I don't like is, but she was supposed to be one anyway. And it's like, well, Spider-Man was supposed to be called Flying Man when Stan Lee thought of the idea. That doesn't make it better, does it? But that's just I need to get that out there. It is interchangeable in a sense. It's purely down to preference. To me, it's like she started as that. I'd rather keep her as that. Like the power thing, one way or another, that's easily retconned out. But you can easily retcon the mutants out of it as well. Because why would Bruno know? Right? But
I mean, like I said, a couple years from now, when they do decide to reintroduce the characters, who's to say they don't retcon that?
I don't know. That's why I always like give it to the Marvels. Like the one thing that set me off was the little X-Men thing. It's just like, oh, that's that's my hope.
I mean, but the problem is like a lot of people get really angry when you do something that's not inherently familiar to them, and that's a huge problem because it's like these movies have never been shy about about changing things, and we've been primed. I think we've been primed as a fan base to get ready to accept a lot of that stuff, but we still haven't.
Yeah.
As a fan,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's a problem, man. And like that's a problem that's never away, unfortunately. But like I don't know, man. Seeing the fan base, I think people got stuck in like two details that were very, I think, in my opinion, minor to the story that they were telling.
I think it's really surprising that the fandom that has like at this point made peace with the live action version of Ultron was invented by Iron Man is like way more hung up on this than I think is necessary. Like and here's my reason.
Doesn't surprise me.
Because again, like I was like,
because I'm exactly who you're talking about right now. Well, I'm just like, I've been one of these like don't expect 100%, and then I've done it myself, and I'm like,
well, I've been on the fence about it, about the whole, maybe Kamala's a mutant thing. Again, I very much think that, and maybe I'm wrong. My interpretation here has been the same as my girlfriend's. Like they don't have the word for inhuman yet. They don't know what that means, and like mutation is just kind of shorthand. Especially in this very comic booky sense of like, ooh, the DNA is different. I maybe down the road they could maybe make that the Inhumans and the mutants are like kind of like cousins, that like they're like tangentially related. Exactly.
They're not that distantly related. There is no.
In the comics,
one of the massive retcons is the reason why you have mutants or Inhumans is because of the Celestials putting the X gene in humans, and the Kree are like, hey, there's something different here. Let's change it about a little bit.
Yeah,
so
I think
there is
that angle. Do a little finagling to be like the Inhumans and the X-Men, or like the Inhumans and the mutants. Like they're not that different specially. I don't think it's that big of a leap. Like the main reason why I'm not like super up in arms about it is because like we are exploring new territory in the MCU for the first time in a hot minute. And when I say new territory, I mean like new whole cloth concepts. Like
it's been since Guardians 1? You've had something as new because everything's been. Actually, no, I take it back. It's Doctor Strange, magic and everything. Oh.
But no, like that would be like even Eternals is still kind of like that, like spacefaring magic type stuff to a certain degree. Like it feels it's very new and different in terms of its execution. But like we're getting into those like big heady concepts that we've been wanting since like Phase 2.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna rush the process here. I'm gonna let it play out. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. And also. Yeah. But if I don't like it, I'm also not going to accost Sean because I don't like it. I will accost Sean if they bungle Magneto. I don't think they will, but if they bungle Magneto, then Sean and I have beef. That's different.
all I ever ask about people is to let it wash over you and let the creators tell the story.
Exactly.
If you have criticism, that's fine. But like my problem is like when it gets to the point where it's like, I'm going to be funny about this and just dog the creators about something that, look, I mean, I feel bad when I pull the whole, you should do something creative to get an idea of how it works. But I'm sorry. A lot of people don't understand how all this.
I mean, it's a valid point.
This is a big fucking machine, this isn't like a small universe. I'm amazed at this point that it's been cohesive at this point to this point right now.
Yeah.
And I think people are just like finding any excuse to kind of just dog people. Look, like I said, critiquing is fine, but when you go into that territory where you're just like, I'm just trying to be made funny and try to get clicks to get a rouse out of people, that I'm not okay with. I mean, I can't change it. It's never gonna stop. But I think we're gonna if this fan base doesn't get in check soon, we're gonna go fall right into that Star Wars territory, where it's so toxic that you don't even want to be involved with it, that you don't want to talk to people about it. It's getting to that point. I see it in the comments. I see it all the time. And sometimes I fall for it and get into the quote unquote debates with people about it. But like if this Marvel fan base doesn't get in check, we're gonna be in that same boat.
Yeah,
and it's getting pretty close.
I'd argue we've
it's
been there for
becoming not
years
fun
anyway.
to talk about, huh?
I said I'd argue we've been there for years already at this point. You can
I
go
think it's been
Facebook
civil
threads.
though. Yeah, it's not as bad as Star Wars. Star Wars, you cannot talk.
No, it's not as bad.
People have threatened my job because I said something bad about a Star Wars movie. That hasn't happened with Marvel yet. But like that is it's becoming to a point where you just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to watch it, and it becomes not fun anymore. And like, unfortunately, that's fandom. But like, I think the fan base up to this point was pretty civil. I mean, yeah, you had your funny people, you had your trolls, but nothing like Star Wars. Star Wars is toxic. Like, it's just toxic. I don't even talk about Star Wars in comments or anything like that because I don't want to have to go through what I went through a year ago. So. I mean, I see that. I've seen that in the Ms.Marvel. I mean, I look through comments on almost every page that talks about this, and I see the people. I almost see the same people, the same conversation that is going on, that went on with Star Wars, and it's getting scary.
Well,
to become a fan.
If I may, as a Star Wars person and as someone who has kept their finger on the pulse of toxic fandom and stuff like that, I think that it is no surprise and not a coincidence that it is Ms. Marvel where things are seeming to flare up, and a project like Eternals where things really flare up. Because again, let's call it what it is. There's a reason why it's the sequel trilogy that is so ubiquitously hated by a certain sect of the fandom, and I have a hard time calling, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Sean. You're right.
No.
I have a hard time calling anybody who freaks out over these specific projects a fan.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those moments. So I wouldn't call a Geeks and Gamers a Star Wars fan, because anytime there's someone who it doesn't look exactly like him, he throws a hissy fit. Like, and that's a big factor that I think is just, and it just goes to keeping the space safe and open.
If you go back to Eternals, the conversation started like people are just afraid of change. They are like the fan base, the diehard fans are 100% afraid to change. Like, once you change a small detail, or if you switch genders, or if you give a minority a voice, it becomes that quote unquote word woke. That woke agenda. And it's
which is just a dog whistle for I don't want to see people of color or queer people, etc., etc., etc.
To me, that's a signal of hatred, bigotry.
Exactly.
Right-wing, lefty, right-wing words. It's like, but that you see that slowly seeping into the Marvel fan base, and it's only started once. Like, I mean, look, the Eternals was probably one of the first conversations I've actually seen in the comments. That's when I seen people kind of just like be very vicious about like how much they hated a movie. And or I want to be funny and I want to make a funny comment and see how many people laugh at the comment, and then just I didn't see that a lot in all that in phase 1, 2, 3, but it really started in the Eternals.
Yeah, and it's absolutely culture war stuff. It's culture war shit. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Black Widow wasn't bad. It was like the normal.
I adored that movie.
Yeah, me too. But I saw when people were all like, "Oh, it's woke." Like, that's when I started seeing it.
Once you start seeing
the women are part of it as well. It all falls under the same umbrella. Yeah.
But once you see the change in gender and the more spotlight on gender. Look, man, I'm speaking as a fan, not as an employee, but I'm glad that that companies like Disney, you can say what you will about the company, I don't care, but I give Disney kudos to the creators that put these things in the spotlight. This isn't a woke agenda. It's just storytelling, you
Yeah.
know. And
exactly.
every time I see the word woke, I just roll my eyes. It's because it's been used by some right-wing people as a weapon to something that they don't understand or they don't care about. It's like, but you know, I didn't see that until Eternals. That's when I started seeing it the most, and it just kind of trickled down, and it got worse in Ms.Marvel comments because it's like she's this, and this. She's a, you know, it's like, man, you know, like I get it. You're never gonna stop this, but like it slowly starts sucking the fun out of it, you know,
Well,
and like
I think that again, like to kind of go through the lineage of all of this lunacy, and you know, like again, like it starts at The Last Jedi. That's when the internet lost its mind, when it went crazy.
And that's the movie that people like. It was so divisive. I don't like the movie. Like the movie, give the fucking guy credit that he did something different. You know, and nobody liked it because it wasn't the same old story. But if you gave them the same old story, it would be the reverse. They'd still hate it, you know. And it's like
exactly,
you know, it's a double-edged sword, you know. And like it really is getting to the point where it's not fun anymore. I don't like talking about it, you know. And it's like it's super sad to say that because I'm like, people say that they're a lifelong fan, but I've been doing this. I've been like in this world for so long, you know. I think ever since I could read, I read a comic book. People say that the Iron Fist was their favorite. Whatever. I've been reading that stuff since I could read, you know, and I have the proof of it. I have tons of comics, you know, still in storage, you know.
Well, and again, like it's the way that like that same level of like Last Jedi hatred began its creep into Marvel with Captain Marvel. And oh, surprise, surprise, Brie Larson says this incredibly tame thing of, hey, maybe women should be on the press junket. These same lunatics, and again, like for the project I've been working on, I talked about it when I was on the main show, like last week. You know, I did research. I went all the way back into Geeks and Gamers like catalog. I went to a video that was like 3 years old, right? So we're talking like 2019, like on the cusp of like not super far off from The Last Jedi. I think it was more than 2019. And like even then, he's like, they're using their woke agenda. Like this lingo's been there. It's culture war nonsense. And I'm not going to say that I speak for everybody here, but I would not be surprised if I am. The moment I hear woke, I immediately discount anything else that comes out of that person's mouth.
Oh, 100%.
The eyes roll back, and glaze over, and you just
exactly. It's a dog whistle.
I've my friend has just started using the word woke when he was talking about Kenobi. I was like,
ex-friend then.
The minute you get like a 50, 60-year-old Republican senator using the word in their campaigns and to describe their agenda, that word has lost all its meaning. It's a cultural appropriation of a word that has been used
my God,
you know, and like it's now seeping into the fandom, you know, like these people are like I hate using the word that we're infiltrating, but it certainly is that word.
Because, that's exactly what it is. It's infiltration.
I don't know if I'd say if it is because they've always been there. They're just now.
They've always been there. But this is where the pipeline stuff comes into play, where this is a front in the culture war, and people who are at risk of being radicalized are roped into this. It is people who are coming here with that intent.
I challenge you to take a peek at like other sites about this show alone. This show alone. I mean, this show alone. I've seen like I go through the sites. I go through all it just to see what people say. You know, and like I've gone through other websites and or other comments and stuff like that, and other pages, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I got no doubt about that.
It's solidly like probably most like I feel like this is probably one of the most disgusting people that comments about this show. You know, like they take a show that is like should be celebrated. I mean, it gives a voice.
I mean, I'm Valania alone should be celebrated. That girl is a treasure. I will die on that hill for that girl.
Incredible.
I don't get how she exists. I'm still convinced she's a lab baby. No.
I mean,
No one's
never know.
No one.
She's not human. No. Well, she's not. She's a mutant, I suppose. But yeah.
Or maybe she's inhuman. Let's sneak that in.
Oh, let me just bash my head against the wall. No.
I don't know. It's just it's sad.
Unfortunate, and it's
sad.
What's even worse is it was expected. Like the second the show got announced that this little Muslim girl's going to absolutely get dogged online by the MCU people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it got. I think this show got exceptionally bad, like in some places, because of the fact that like of her being who she is and like her culture. It's like, man, I seen some stuff that would be like, wow, they let this. I mean, I seen something that referred to her in the sense of like, how could they give a person of her descent a show because they did X, Y, and Z and something. It's like, wow, like.
By that same logic, let's not have any white person with a show or a movie ever then.
Yeah, Mitch specifically.
I mean, this show did personally attack me. With its anti-British propaganda.
It'll be okay.
Mitch, Star Wars is anti-British propaganda. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they don't specify.
You have one
the
good
word.
one, and that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he still lies to a child.
Yeah.
But he has the best Star Wars, so.
It's true.
But yeah, no. I say this show attacked me. It did, but I don't hold it against.
For our fellow fans, and do not let the infiltrators in. Don't let them win. I'm on that. I don't know. I like it's on the mind because of, again, like the project Alden and I have coming out this week. But like I just. Oh, I get so angry. Bigots do not get to appropriate material that is meant to decry them. It's like these right wingers who think they're the Rebel Alliance. Like the level of like the lack of self-awareness for somebody to like have Cobra in their Twitter handle. And think they're the good guys. And think they're the good guys. Like, are you shitting me? I'm sorry. I'm getting heated because we're talking about the kinds of people that I just want to get into a like alleyway brawl with. But
talk about the good things.
Yeah, like this show. It's so good. Like the thing that boggles my mind with the hate for this show.
Style out of all the MCU shows, it's most style.
It's super stylish.
It does, and I it's pure. Most apart from the whole mutant thing, or the inhuman bit, whatever. That one of my main gripes with this show is it gave me stuff that I wanted more of, and I never got it. Like the whole animation that you see the world through her eyes perspective, like that that disappeared after like episode 2 or 3, really. And never really came back in the same sense. It's like that's what dragged me in, and I really wanted more of that. Like I totally get why, from a story perspective, you wouldn't want that when she's fighting a racist damage control agent, and there's all these weird little animations on screen. Like you wouldn't want that at that point. But I just a little bit more. I just wanted that a little bit more perspective from her with all that sort of style. So I think like. It doesn't suffer for it, but the heart of the show just shrinks ever so slightly when that stuff's not on screen, and it's not through her eyes. But
but I think that to me that just tells me that like from the character's perspective that like it's not. She's like her eyes. She's not like a doughy-eyed teenager anymore.
Yeah, she's growing up, right? Like it's how they tell the coming of age story part of it. Like she's growing up and she's starting to see the.
But by the end, it's like it comes back in a way that I think it makes sense.
Does it come back?
I don't know. And the planning of the.
Yes, you are 100% right. Yeah, you're 100%.
It doesn't come back like fully like it does in the. But I think I always looked at that as like her perspective of what her life, and it just like gradually her eyes gets open to like what's going on. I think that the problem happens with the clandestine because it just doesn't really like I'm wholly admitting that they used those characters as a stepping stone for what could I feel like in discussions made, like it's just the decision they made, and I think that I wish they would have kept the damage control as the antagonist of the show, but I think it runs like superhero films run into these problems because it's like you have to tell the X, Y, and Z, and sometimes you have to
have the superhero Marvel-y bit at, like go throughout.
Things suffer in the story that look it's like, it happens, and they sacrifice certain things in the show. In the writing room, I'm sure those discussions were made 100 times, but it's like, you can't. They couldn't figure out how to introduce certain aspects of the show without using these characters. But at the very least, they use characters that really are unconsequential. Like you live or die, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's good that they didn't use another character that could have been more, connected to the fans as a stepping stone.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wonders if anyone would have been upset if the Tinkerer was it the Tinkerer in the original run, that weird parakeet head person? I can't remember. Tinker or something like that. It's something along those lines. But would that have worked in this story? No, not in the slightest. He has no place in this story whatsoever. But clandestines, they serve some kind of purpose, I guess.
I hope we get a Miles Morales game style Tinkerer in the future of the MCU.
Yeah.
Just a complete non sequitur. That game's version of the Tinkerer, even though I saw it coming from 30 miles away, I loved it. Complete non sequitur. Just again, complete non sequitur. I know we already have a Tinkerer in the MCU, but still.
You can always have two. Who knows?
Exactly.
But yeah, it's. I don't know.
One of the things that I really like about this show, and it's a shame that so many people are caught up on faux outrage to not engage with it. But I sincerely love the way that this show, like, I am a white guy who lives in suburbia. I am surrounded by very Christian people. I come from a relatively agnostic house. I myself am agnostic / atheist, somewhere on that spectrum there. And I cannot relate to being a person of color directly. I cannot relate to the feminine experience. I can't relate to being a religious minority in a country that has so much venom in their mouth for that group. What I can relate to is being a wide-eyed kid who wants to do everything and anything they can, whose aspirations may be too big for their own good, who wants so badly to break free of that loving but still smothering familial connection. Like, this show is so relatable, and I hate so much, again, not to keep litigating the assholes that have made their way into our communities, but what drives me insane is the talking point of they're making this for blue check marks on Twitter, not for the quote unquote fans. Like, nobody who actually thinks this way is actually going to watch these shows. Apart from that,
the same people that go, as a white guy, I can't relate to this character, and then just never elaborate. It's like, well,
she's so relatable.
Exactly. It's like,
she's so relatable.
If you literally can't get past that she's a little brown girl, there's something seriously wrong with you. Look in the mirror, please.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like this show is so very much for everybody.
It's like, yes, you might not be in the demographic that it's aimed at, because let's be honest, it is aimed at a younger audience.
Exactly. Like that is the highest bar to clear. The highest bar to clear is like, can you get down with like what is definitely like a teen show?
But even then, it's like, who wasn't a teenager at one point?
Exactly.
You can't relate to that experience. Like, yes, her experience slightly varies to, I say slightly, very heavily varies to yours, but look past that and look at literally everything else. If you can relate to a space Viking, you can relate damn well to a little brown Muslim girl.
All I can say to that is like, look at the family dynamic. You can copy and paste any color to that and still get that same result.
Exactly.
You know, like you look at the family interaction, you almost completely forget that they are Muslim because, you know, the interactions. You know, with the small hint, I mean, there's obviously, you know, reminders that they are a Muslim family, but like the family dynamic inside the house is always like something that you're like, oh yeah, my mom did that too. Like when I seen it the first time, I was like, yeah, like my
mother's never said no, you can't go to a thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everyone's been told they can't go to things as a kid. Like it's right there.
And on the flip side of that, it's like, you know, the reason why, like she's saying that, you know, it's like there's so many different things you can extrapolate from those scenes with the family. It's like the mother is like acting like she's acting like a mother that you had grown up with, but also she's acting like a mother that is like from a different culture, you know, like,
yeah.
So I mean, if you can't see that in the show, then this show's not for you. You know, like the show is like 100%, like it's like 90% family, and that other 10% is like her superhero. You know.
Absolutely. It's so good. And honestly, like I also want to say, I think that like, and there have been some real conversations about like pacing issues with the Disney Plus shows entirely, both Star Wars and Marvel. And like some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. Like Moon Knight had pacing problems in my opinion. This show perfectly paced. Paced. Like this show This worked for me pacing wise so well. Like I didn't have that weird like 2-episode long like series of false starts. Like this was just, we're going. Like this one felt so well melded together.
I will 5 out of 6 agree with you, because me and Sean spoke about this, and we unfortunately had a time travel moment. Well, I did anyway. That closed loop episode of time travel like made the show stop in its tracks. And it's like, right, last 10 minutes. Then it's literally like, it's the first, what was it, episode 5 that did that? Like you had the 4 episodes of like this fantastically paced show, and it stops, and then it gets right back into it again. Because I thought that finale nailed everything it needed to do.
Yep. I think the finale nailed everything.
Going into it, but I think the finale absolutely nailed everything. But it's just that one closed time loop episode, which it's not a bad episode by any stretch. The Aisha and Hassan stuff is fantastic, and like seeing Sana and how she actually got there. I liked it. It was just weirdly there.
Fell out of place a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that might be down to me not being a huge fan of the time travel aspect and just why it's randomly here in the show. I think, but that's
I think we discussed that a couple of times, and I think my preference would have been just we talked about it could be it could have been a recording. I know that would have been my preference, but I'm not the writer of the show.
I say, because we said about it being the Supreme Intelligence Room, right? Where it acts similar to how it was in Captain Marvel. Like you could have gone that way, but it wasn't bad how it was done. It's just personal preference at that point. But like everything else, I adored.
I get that. But like I said, like this worked for me. And like the thing with me is like I watched this show weird. I watched the first 2 episodes the day it came out, and then fell the hell off. Watched 3 and 4 in one sitting, and then 4 and 5, and then 5 and 6. Like I got such a weird like staggering out of how I watched it. I loved what I saw. Like, and I was like, I really wish I would have watched this week to week. Because it wouldn't have felt that like, okay, you got to get back in the car, you got to strap on your seatbelt, you got to start the car, you got to back out, which is like kind of what the first half of like every MCU show for me a little bit has felt like, where it's like, okay, we got to get in, we got to restart, okay, and then we're going, okay, we're going to stop, and then park and then get back in later. Like and then the back half is just you're zooming down the highway, right? Here, it just felt, I mean, using a driving comparison is funny because of the first episode, but like this one just felt like you got in and you just cruised at a steady clip. Yeah. I quite liked it.
I agree for the most part.
So yeah,
Nick, you have been uncharacteristically quiet the entire show.
Very sorry about that.
I'm coming back to you.
I guess
you now have the floor for half an hour. Talk.
All right. I guess it's. I don't know. I guess like when it started to show, like I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes of this show, like that. But I guess like around episode 3, and even with Micah, it kind of just lost us. And that's not to say like the show was bad or anything. I guess it was kind of like at a point where it just wasn't for me. And then quickly, like even though it is kind of less, targeted towards people my age to an extent, I guess I really did like it when it was kind of like a fun little high school show, and it had really focused on a lot of the family dynamic. I guess like when they were just focusing on the bangle, like it was interesting and all, but I guess that's where it kind of just lost me a bit, because like it's like, okay, well, I want to know more about what this is, but you're kind of not doing that, but you are and you're not. And I guess when she did say that she was mutant, like, I'll be honest, I got excited, but it's like the Daredevil leak for No Way Home. Like I got really excited, but I got upset at the same time.
Yeah, it's understandable.
That emotional whiplash.
Exactly.
That's why.
Punch in the face.
Because it's like, oh my god, because I grew up on the X-Men movies, and I was like, holy shit, finally they're gonna come into the MCU proper. Well, they're finally gonna be in the MCU. I was like, oh, she should have been an Inhuman. I was like, what? And I was like, what is she now?
Gotta let it ride, see where it goes.
Yeah.
I would say just, I don't know, man. Like if
I understand, right? They announced this show along with the Marvel, so I think seeing is a part A and a part B. That's what I'm trying to do right now, anyway. I've said it from the start. I'm going to wait until the Marvels until I really cement the seed in my soul. But I'll give it a fair.
Well, I think they're gonna. I mean, it's obvious that they're gonna get more in depth of like the bangle and all that. Like it's an intentional cliffhanger to the show. I think that's not the last time you're gonna see it. I think I don't know. I would say
I'd hope not. It's a very important part of her costume.
Hang in there. Things will be explained. It's just. I mean, that's the problem with like interconnection. Shows and movies. It's like you're not gonna get all the answers right away. Like you just gotta kind of like let it happen, judge it for it's in a whole, versus like just expect stuff like this to happen. It's gonna happen. They're gonna intentionally stop at a certain point and not. You're gonna have the hanging threads. The bangle is gonna come back. You're gonna see it. But I don't know. I mean, that's.
So it's a bit like Shang-Chi, right? They
Yeah.
I think Shang-Chi actually handled the mystery of what the things are slightly better, because they didn't make it a focal point in the show or the movie.
Yeah.
It was literally right at the end, and you cliffhanger like, hey, this thing has this thing. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. And then this one's like, hey, this is the weird thing. It's a very weird thing, okay? And like, we're going to talk about it later on. It's like, okay, you know what, fine.
I kind of can't wait till the inside the Marvel show that happens for Ms.Marvel, because it's like they're gonna
be assembled. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, like I always enjoy watching that show as a fan, because it's like it gives the writers and the creators a chance to rebuttal, what the fans have asked. You can't like always get interaction with one-on-one with these people, but like the show gives the creators a chance to kind of explain themselves a little bit if it hasn't been like clear in the show or the movie. Like that. I always enjoy watching that stuff, because some people will accept the fact that you can't get all the answers, and some people just like it's not like the Star Wars thing where you need a book to actually understand certain aspects of the show. It's like it's just kind of a supplemental thing, that is kind of important, because it gives the creators a chance to rebuttal and like answer the questions and like give you an insight of what they were thinking when they created the show.
I'm looking forward to that personally, because the only thing that is it Bishop K. Alley, the head writer on this show?
Yeah.
Like the only thing I've seen her talk about the reveal at the end, it was something along the lines of we needed a way for her to inherit her powers without the family having it, and that's the only reason. Like I'm paraphrasing that a hell of a lot, but that's just what I got from it. And no secret again, I'm gonna mention it, like it's where it's not in line with what I wanted. I felt that was a really lazy response, but I'm expecting the Assembled to go into that a lot more. Like, I'm expecting the Assembled to just be about that reveal for the most part. So I'm excited to see what the actual reasoning is. If it doesn't do it, whatever. But like that answer didn't satisfy me in the slightest for the change. It's like she had that anyway. What's the point?
Yeah. See, the problem with like interviews like that is like a lot of people that are giving the interview, they tend to edit and cut out things and just kind of streamline the conversation to the point where it's like it.
You're also on a timer as well, and you got to like really like just spit out an answer and move on.
Because like those creators have probably had like 6, 7, 8 interviews that day, so like this guy had a 15-minute conversation, extrapolated this, and then takes that quote, breaks it down, and streamlines it to the point. Sometimes it explains it perfectly. Sometimes it just makes it worse, and like it's happened. I mean, Kevin Feige has had that problem many times, where it's just like conversations get out of context. People don't.
Some of those are self-inflicted on his part. He's a man of half truths. He will lie to you and say he doesn't.
Of course. I mean, look, it's
still part of the
game. Like if the guy gave all the answers in the interview, it would be, like I don't know.
If he does that, a lot of us are out of a job. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's frustrating, but please never do it. Like.
Yeah. But it's just that's how. I mean, he's blatantly lied to everybody at some point in his career. I'm sure. And I get a kick out of the interviews that have straight out asked questions like that and like expect a
very 5-paragraph cohesive answer of what exactly the thought process was and why and what they ate for lunch.
Or even a sincere answer. I mean, like they're not gonna tell you how they're gonna, when I've seen questions like, oh, how are you gonna bring mutants into the MCU? It's like, are you actually gonna waste a question on that? Like, no one's gonna answer that question like very, in detail and like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it.
But if you keep asking it, eventually the cracks are gonna start to form and the wall's gonna crumble down and you might get a slip up.
Yeah.
You have to be there when
that slip up usually gets
we here at
Marvel
Studios look at the big library of Marvel characters, and we can't wait to explore all of them in the future.
It's
very non-answer.
That was really good, Nick. That was really good.
Now, I'm going to have one little last moment. I'm going to let everyone else talk about all the nice, happy things. I worry that I don't think it's going to happen. My one concern with her being a mutant is she's going to get lost.
Nah.
It's my one concern, because if she was a mutant straight away in the comics, she would have been chucked on an X-Men team, forgotten about in 12 months. Being a human, let her grow on her own. That's my one. I don't. Feige's done a lot of stuff in these movies better than the comics ever did. Civil War's a perfect example. That movie's a masterpiece. That comic event is trash, and I will stand by that.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Mutant characters tend to get introduced and then left by the wayside. So you might get one issue occasionally where they're a thing. It's like, what's Armor gonna be like going forward? Because they outright said they took inspiration from that. Well, what's her deal gonna be now? Like, it's a slippery slope.
I would expect them, if they're gonna introduce a character like that as a mutant, I expect them to put the spotlight on that character as a significant part of the team or whatever, or that community. Like, I don't think they're going to introduce that character as a mutant and say, we'll see her every once in a while in the background.
I'm not expecting it. It's just a slight little niggle in the back of my brain. It's like, if this is
that's understandable.
A possibility. Like Vision goes introduced in Age of Ultron, and then Vision's like a massive side character for like 6 years,
Well,
which is understandable. Like, I'm not comparing it to, but you know, it just happens in movies where you've only got a limited amount of time.
Well, you know what the problem was with the first phase is like they hyper focused on 3 to 4 characters only. You know, like and like now those 3 or 4 characters aren't necessarily in the spotlight. You know, like I think going forward, you know, I think I understand the concern, but I honestly don't have any concern that that Ms. Marvel is gonna be lost in the shuffle if she's a mutant, you know, 100%. You know, I expect that character to be in the spotlight in that team or that community. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very. I always say that Ms. Marvel is a very important character to have.
100%.
And I think that the importance wouldn't go away once you assemble a team. You know, I don't know. That's just my opinion. You know, and like, who's to say that if she was a mutant, that she will be a part of the X-Men? You know, like it's.
I mean, yeah, there's that because
she is. I think she has more important. I think she's gonna be more important to other parts of the MCU. I think it's just. I don't know. You know, I think
that's an interesting segue to what I was actually hoping to bring up because there's this whole narrative that Phase 4 is like aimless and it's directionless and it's not going anywhere.
Media literacy is dead. Anybody?
100%.
Holy hell! I read that and I thought I had a stroke.
Yeah, I think people have very rose-colored glasses when they say stuff like that. It's like, they're introducing a lot of new characters in the next couple of years, and it's like
they're also doing something very interesting, which I don't think a lot of people have picked up on.
Yeah. And if I think that you're thinking the same thing, I 100% agree.
Right. Well, I'm just going to come out and say it. They're very strategically taking people away from certain situations.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange isn't unwell at the minute. Thor isn't unwell at the minute. Wonder and Vision, they're off the table. Like, who's going to step up?
Well, yeah, here's the other thing. Just to put things in retrospect, like, can we acknowledge the fact that we went into Avengers Age of Ultron post having Civil War and Infinity War all announced? Yeah. All of that, like, we knew exactly where we were told. We were told they're going to go to blows in Captain America Civil War. And then Thanos comes to collect in Infinity War. And then what at the time was called Infinity War Part 2. Like, the way that people are like, oh, well, we don't know where this is all going yet. Yeah.
We don't know what
the future slate is, you moron.
We need to stop saying it's like Phase 1. It's nothing like Phase 1 was purely introducing 4 characters and a slight world building. This is an epilogue. It's part of Phase 1, but it's more of an epilogue to anything else. It's
an epilogue that's introducing many new characters.
It's an epilogue and a prologue all at once, which is kind of beautiful.
And it's they're introducing new teams to the playing board, and they're also splitting like storylines. So, you know, like in the next couple of years, it's not just. There's going to be like 2 narratives going on and 2 main focusing, you know, narratives. Like, so
it feels like 4 at the minute.
Or 4, yeah. But like, my point is like, I think it's expanding and like, like I don't think it's aimlessly. You know, I think there's an aim, there's a target, and I think there's actually 2 to 3 targets going on, and I think the arrows are going straight for the bullseye. And people that write those articles are just clickbaiting. They just if you're paying attention to what's going on now, you know what's going on. You know what they're going for. You know,
because I find it like the reason why I brought this up is I find it so interesting that they took Kamala off world. Because so many the conversation since Young Avengers first came into this thing is, oh, you're gonna have Spider-Man, Ms.Marvel, you're gonna be this Young Avengers. Like, no, they are. Yes, it's kind of like the Inhuman thing, but this show made me happy that they did that with Kamala. It's like she is an Avenger and a champion. She is not a Young Avenger. Yes, they are teams of young heroes. They stand for vastly different things and do vastly different adventures and everything else. Why would you ever amalgamate the two?
I wouldn't mind it starting as one thing and becoming the other.
No, that's totally fine.
Like, I wouldn't mind there being like a situation where you have Kamala leading a young Avengers team and then being bumped up to the big leagues, mostly because she's kind of older than them.
No, she's actually younger. You think Haley Steinfeld's like 25? The girl playing Cassie Lang.
I'm not factoring in Kate Bishop. She's too old. People saying young Avengers, like, we need to define what we mean by young. Do we mean like kid Avengers, like Speed and Wiccan and like little baby Loki? Like, what are we talking about here? You know,
the next time you see Speed and Wiccan, they're not gonna be the same people playing those characters.
They are absolutely going to be aged up. There's no way you're going to have those two kids. There's no chance. Because it's all part of their story, right? They don't exist. They die, die. They come back and they're in teenage bodies or like young bodies.
Yeah.
And then like who's
spoilers if no one's read Young Avengers, by the way. Just blew that entire thing wide open. But.
And the funny thing is like I think in Captain Marvel, there's gonna be a thing in that movie, from what I've been told, that is connecting to what like it's another connection to those characters.
I wonder who it's gonna be.
And it makes full sense of like, I mean,
I'm doing a little dance. Y'all can't see me. I'm doing a little dance right now.
You don't need me Sherlock Holmes to figure that out, you know. But like,
who's the one young Avenger missing from the roster?
Oh, goddamn.
Actually, I tell you, it's not quite the one. There's like Nova, but I'm not counting Nova.
Victor Von Doom. That's it.
No, that's not talking about this.
It's all coming. You know, like these characters are coming at full speed. I don't know. Like,
and who did Young Avengers fight? Why is Doom coming this year? I wonder.
Yeah. And I mean, if you go back to the conversations with me and you behind the scenes about what I told you about Black Panther 2, you know, like it's all there, you know, like those characters are coming. So, yeah, for better or for worse, I guess.
It's a very interesting time to be a Marvel fan.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
For better or for worse, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
If you're Jared, a very good time. If you're me, you're slightly hurting right now.
If you're Jared, and some of the shit you've read happens, all I'm going to be listening to from November on is MF Doom, baby. All caps, mad villainy. Let's go.
Yeah. Very interesting times.
Like I said, if y'all ever want to kill me, announce anything to do with Superior Spider-Man, my heart will stop. Like right there.
Never gonna happen.
You don't know that. I'm still holding out hope for Spider-Verse.
Hold on, Jared, don't I?
What?
Don't I know it's gonna happen?
What?
You said I don't know.
I'm just saying, I'm just holding out hope for Spider-Verse.
I mean, who knows? Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Just
like Sean telling me who's going to be playing Dr. Doom right now.
Howard Stern, of course.
Reed Richards.
John Krasinski.
With the hair puffing out of the mask.
Oh, if they get Krasinski for Doom, I'm done.
He's not.
I'm done.
Don't get attached to Krasinski, you know, like he's in
Ben Affleck.
No, I think.
Shut up.
Nick, you got your two in there. You mentioned Daredevil and Affleck.
I didn't mention Daredevil today.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he did.
Well, now I did.
People,
I have. Well, that's twice actually. No, I have a mental tally going.
I was gonna say, can you watermark each section of the episode?
Well, according to Skype, it was 1 hour 24 in the dot, near enough. So, wow, it's been an hour and a half.
And so, Nick, your Daredevil will be coming. Promise you, man. Like it's coming.
I expect
maybe in a month or two.
Personally seen it with my peepers, man. Peepers. I've seen it.
Who knows? You might get him in a month because the next one we do for this is She-Hulk.
Oh my god, dude! I love this. It is such a good time to be a nerd, man. I love the MCU so much. Damn.
Yeah, can we appropriate that back, or just away from just sod it?
Pete Fletcher from Around the Galaxy made like a funny graphic where he was like, the MCU, Marvel, you need to just own this and run with it, and like made a little edit. And he's right.
Let's just announce A-Force and then run with that, please. Comic Con's in a week or this week. I've lost track of time. It's hot. So like, just announce it and do that, please.
I just want Feige to come out with a money gun. I want him to come out with like a money counter, future style, and just be like, "What was that about? Get woke, go broke," and just launch hundreds into the crowd. Grabbing on his nuts. What about get woke, go broke? Money counter across the audience.
I'd approve.
Looking forward to SDC because.
I mean, apparently it's already leaked on Reddit. You know. Funny. I look forward to Anthony Starr as Dracula.
It sounds too good.
Here's what I hate. Here's what I hate anymore. And I bring this up at least once every time I'm on something with Sean. Sean, I can't look at leaks anymore and then see you comment on it because you'll just reply with like a laughing emoji, and I'm like, well, clearly it's not true. But then I know that Sean digitally looked me in my eyes and said, "Daredevil's not No Way Home. Don't report on it." And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I'm gonna take Sean's word for it and just run away from this. I can't trust you, and it's the most fun thing ever.
It's fine.
It's so much.
You can't trust that laughing emoji. It means 12 different things.
Yes, it's 6 different emotions all rolled in one. Sometimes differently. It's like speaking Japanese. You know, like words mean differently depending on how you say it.
Yeah, context is important.
I just love the surprise. That's all. You know, I'm a sucker for it. Sucker.
Oh god, I can't wait.
We're gonna wrap this up. So I'm gonna go to Nick for his final thoughts. Because Nick said the least.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I blame Jared, he talks too much.
You're right.
I love him for it, but he talks.
No, it's should have my internet's not out because it might be. Is it? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
I can hear you.
All right, good. All right. You know, overall, I like the show. Yeah, I mean, it had its problems. Maybe it could have focused on one thing than the other, but yeah, you know, overall, I enjoyed it. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to it or not. Still not sure, but yeah, that's about it. I don't know. I don't really have much to say about this show. I liked it. That's kind of like where I stand.
Where would you put it with the others?
Just one of those. Like with the shows, or just
If you had to rank, if you had to like do a top 3, top 5, where would you put it? Out of interest.
For the shows, it would be in my top 5.
Top 5, that's alright.
Oh, yeah, because it's at number 5 with the shows.
That's fair.
I still got Hawkeye. I still got Hawkeye at number 1.
It's okay. We all have our biases.
Obviously, that's not. Obviously, I'm not. Yeah.
No prize for my number 1. Yeah. Right, Jared.
I wonder what it could be.
Yeah.
What if, right?
100%. Yeah.
I quite like this. I think this might be top 3. I think it's hanging out with Loki and WandaVision. For me. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait to see more from Iman Vellani is how you pronounce it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I always get tongue-tied to say I always say people's names incorrectly. On top of that, just real quick, I saw this brilliant fan casting of her as one of the High Republic Jedi. As Vernestra Rowe. Oh my God, is that perfect? Again, complete non sequitur. I think the show is incredible. She is a rising star, and I can't see her in more things, namely as Vernestra Rowe in some type of High Republic thing.
I mean, crisscrossing all the time. Yeah.
Hey.
Now, Sean, pick your favorite kid.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to list it, I mean, WandaVision, Moon Knight, Ms.Marvel, Hawkeye, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Well,
Only appeared.
Hold on, give me a second.
Huh?
Give me a second. 1 second. Yep. I need to. Something might have just happened here. Where's the series? Where's my series list? Say that series list again.
WandaVision, Moon Knight, Ms.Marvel, Hawkeye, and then Falcon. I put Falcon at the bottom because it suffers.
Oh, so you put Loki above Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Oh, I forgot Loki. Yeah, Loki. Damn. Loki is above WandaVision.
Oh, do you want to know what? We would have had identical lists then. No, absolutely one for one. I got excited.
I mean, if you're gonna be honest, if I had to pick one, it would probably be Ms. Marvel, in my opinion. You know, because it's just.
Totally fair.
My opinion. Yeah.
I got excited for having the same list then, but you ruined
it. What was switched?
Mine's WandaVision, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Hawkeye, Loki, Falcon. I don't even put What If on there. I don't count What If. That's the Ginger's kid.
What If was great, and y'all are just unfun.
Yeah, What If?
Yeah, one good episode.
I think
one good episode. You like Ben Affleck's Daredevil? Shut up.
He has a point.
Doesn't count.
Shut up. Disqualifying opinion.
Yeah.
Nick pays me. I can't say shit like that.
Oh, I can. It's true, Nick.
I love you, buddy.
I adored this show. I got my personal beef. I say beefs, personal issues with it. Yeah, the cultural aspect I think was done fantastically. It's, you know, the second they brought up partition, I was like, you know what, I'm going to Google that because we were never taught that. And I felt kind of dumb for it. And there was a whole thing. I was like, oh, okay, not as bad as Americans, but yeah, it's cool. But yeah,
Americans definitely.
UK still number one. We're called great for a reason. This show's just slander. I know. Iman Vellani needs to be. She needs something. There's got to be a bigger breakout role. Not that I think you can get much bigger than what she's just done, but what a pleasant surprise that performance was. Because you hear like first acting gig, and there's always that like, oh, she's young as well, and then she comes out here and knocks out the park.
And Sarah Finn, I trust.
Yeah, you
Can't
know
do
what?
wrong.
I there's some castings like this. I'm like, you know what? It might not be the one, but then Sarah Finn's just like, shut up. No.
I wish I had my. I wish we were doing this in StreamYard so I could play my Snoop Dogg clip of that mother don't miss. That mother don't miss, man. In the heat of battle, he don't miss. Heat of controversy. Sarah Finn.
It's not even just Iman, it's the entire cast.
Oh, absolutely.
The family, the dad, the mum, the brother, like they are just spot on, and I hope they have a sizable role in the Marvels going forward.
I do too.
I know they're in it. The dad's confirmed he's in it, but
yeah,
I need more. I need a lot more.
There's always season 2, you know.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's no way this show doesn't get a season 2.
That's one moment I can't wait for. Is like the arc of Kamala's mom learning to take a step back has been beautiful. I'm really looking forward to her mom reacting to the first time she gets her ass beat.
Well,
I think that's gonna be a beautiful moment. Oh yeah, like her watching like the melee, but like Kamala comes out kicking ass, but like I mean like the first time like she really loses a fight against the villain.
You want that like Avengers 1 Tony with the nuke moment where he's like, she's dead.
No, I cannot wait for that like that child and parent moment of, oh holy God, are you okay? And like I think they will both act their asses off in that moment of like her mom reacting the first time Kamala gets sunned.
I am gonna take a stab and say it's gonna be the Marvels.
I think you're right.
Quick side note: did you guys enjoy the giving of the how the costume was given to her?
Yes,
you didn't mention that at all, and yes, I adored it from start to finish.
I loved it. I thought it was so cute. I also Also, just a side note, the music, again, non sequitur, before I forget to say it, that credit music, every time, I'm just vibing. Anyway.
I will say the partition flashback music that they just placed in the intro one point was really jarring and I don't think fit, but it worked in the context of the partition.
Foreshadowing, yeah.
Like, it's such a like jarring bah, 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 sort of thing. It's like, what the hell is going on?
One more thing. Did you guys miss the tiny cameo by a certain group in the show? It was a very blink if you miss it, but like it was a cute way to kind of connect the two shows in a way, and I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, the Trust a Bro van in the intro.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I heard that was in that. I could never spot it.
Yeah, it's a very blink and miss if you miss it moment.
I would look for it in every episode. It made me happy.
Yeah,
never saw it.
But it was a quick little blink, cameo, and like I like it was cute.
Yeah. It's like Rogers the Musical being in No Way Home, like it's all. It makes the MCU New York really feel like a Marvel New York.
It makes it feel like an actual New York, because like.
Which is funny because Trusted Bro should be in San Fran. But...
yeah, that's true. New York's better. Let's face it.
Unless Scott's decided to move and he's found out about Venom. He's like, this place sucks. I'm gonna go back over here where I belong.
If that happens in Quantumania, where he gets decides to move and he just trying to find something in the yellow pages, Trust a Bro comes up, I will love that.
That'd be fun.
They've expanded to the West Coast,
Yeah, I adored the way that suit came about. Even how cheesy the name, the logo on the chest is. It's like, you know what?
Especially the box too. The box that she gave it in was kind of cute, because it was like those boxers are all over her grandmother's house. Like I forgot what was the cookies or something like that. But
Toffee,
yeah, that's
yeah.
It's like,
nice.
And a part of me really wish they got Bon Jovi in there somewhere. Just her mom rocking out in the concert in New Jersey. It would have been great.
Well, if it wasn't for the clandestines in this show, we might have got that in episode 3, but they had to come in and ruin it.
Or, he could have been.
Just another reason why they shouldn't have been in the show. They stole that one moment. But I was going to say something else then. I also thought the way that her dad gave her the name was fantastic. Yeah. That's something that could have gone very wrong very quick. It didn't. It was the opposite. It was well thought out. It was well acted. He done it exactly how he should have done it. And it's like, you know what? That's a well thought out change for, obviously the comic, she has the bolt because of Ms. Marvel's old black and gold suit. In here, she hasn't got that connection. So it's like, you know what? Yes, that's a change I can appreciate and I really liked. So I can say nice stuff about this show. I do like it. It's my top 3. Oh yeah, so that's gonna bring us to an end. You got an hour and 40 from that, roughly, give or take, everyone. So thanks everyone for joining. Nick, thank you again for coming back on. It's been quite quick since the boys turned around. And of course Jared. So let's go, Nick. If you've got stuff to plug, go and plug it. Tell them where you can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at NFJ Films. You can find the show. Multiple fan bases. I mean, my good buddy Micah host. I said we were trying to do an episode last week, and sadly I lied. We are going to try to do it again. We might do a Resident Evil spoiler cast with our buddy Ryan from the Facebook group. And I got through the first 20 minutes of the first episode, so that's a start.
So it's at least 20 minutes long. There's that, people.
Couldn't get through that.
It's you can find our show on YouTube and on Spotify.
Jared?
Yes. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. This week, Alden Diaz from Octo Radio and I are dropping a project we've had in the works for a few weeks now. It'll be dropping in both the Nerd Academy and Octo Radio podcast feeds and on the Nerd Academy YouTube channel. My side of it is called The Fandom Menace and How We Got Here. And it is just that. There are content warnings galore because a good bit of it is going to be talking about online harassment and bigotry. And a good chunk of part 2 is a full timeline of Gamergate. So prepare yourself if you want to get into the weeds with us. But yeah, we have that coming out this week, and I hope you guys tune in for it because I think it's very important, and a lot of it ties into what we talked about here today.
That's a 2-parter, right?
Yep.
There's not any more to it, right? Cool. Yeah, definitely. Please check it out because I heard part 1 and it's fantastic. So.
Thank you very much. Today's Monday, the 18th at time of record. Part 1 will be coming out on Wednesday and part 2 will be out on Friday.
Definitely give it a listen.
Thank you very much.
Very, very good. Very good stuff. Not that I've heard part 2 yet, but I'm going to get to it when everything's not melting and falling apart around me. So yeah. People can find Sean here. They know where to find him.
I'm just here.
So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We'll catch you all, like I said, in a month for She-Hulk, where I assume when that finishes after 12 weeks. Hopefully not 12 long weeks, but actually is it 12 or is it 9? I can't remember if they changed it.
Pretty sure it's 9.
I think it's 9.
All right, 9 weeks. 9 weeks. So yeah, well, you might see everyone who's here back for that one. You might not.
Oh, you certainly will.
I was that promise you're actually going to keep up with it this time.
Hey. Obi-Wan Kenobi was coming out, man. Cut me a break.
I give you an excuse for 2 weeks on that one.
You're gonna have a really harder problem in the next couple of months.
Oh yeah, because you've got 12 episodes of Andor.
Yeah, Andor and She-Hulk are all doing 12-episode runs. But hey, at least there isn't an extra show thrown in there like The Boys. Like that was the real.
Or The Umbrella Academy, which I still haven't watched and probably not going to.
I don't watch that.
There's so much stuff going on. You have very little time to watch.
I know. It's killing me. But I'm having fun.
It's a good problem. That's all.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
So yeah, go find Nick and Jared and all their stuff. You can find me and Sean everywhere. You know where to find us. So yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.